Hello cheap fun crafting friends, I am back again, still working on my decorative pillow. The vibe here is freehand, boho kind of style, predominantly working on circles, circular designs. So I'm going to show you today 3 more embroidery stitches that are really easy. I don't like anything complicated. I'm doing this for fun and enjoyment, so I try to come up with the easiest, or to use the easiest embroidery patterns that I can think of. So today we're going to be doing 3. We're going to be doing the sheaf stitch. We're going to be doing the sheaf stitch, the Y stitch, and the blanket stitch. And just to show you what that looks like, maybe I should show you where you can see all 3. That's the sheaf stitch, the Y, and the blanket stitch. So let's get started. So the sheaf stitch pretty much consists of 3 straight stitches, and then you come back and tie the 3 stitches together to make what you would look like a sheaf right here. So because I'm using a bundle of 3, I'm making sure that when I'm doing my long stitches, I'm doing a multiple of 3s. I also try and use the closest, the shortest distance from one stitch to another. So I'd already done a bundle of 3 there, so I'm doing my next 3, so that's 1. That's 2. Then I create a little bit of a distance between one bundle of 3 to the next one. So that's 3. So I have one bundle of 3 there, and the next bundle of 3 there. So one of the things I like about this particular stitch is the style comes out looking quite complicated, but it's really easy. And because I love doing this for relaxation, and that's another reason I do a lot of freehand, it's supposed to be easy and relaxing, is I try to find stitches that are easy to do but that look really cool and complex once they're finished. So I'll keep going until I complete this circle, but that's all you're doing. You come over to your bottom line or your top line, you do a little almost like a little straight stitch, you come back over to the top and take one little stitch. So what you're doing is you're also taking the shortest distance from one end to the other and not wasting too much yarn. So the back side of this stitch should look something like that. Okay. And whatever multiples you're using, make sure you're keeping your count. I am using multiples of 3. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I already have 4 sets. So I'm going to meet you again when we get to the end here. So I'm done with creating the bundle of 3 long stitches, which constitute the sheaf stitch. So the next step is bundling these 3 stitches together. So the way I do that is I come up from below in between the 3 stitches, so as close as possible to the middle long stitch. I pull that up, sorry, my thread is getting tangled there, and I use the eye of my needle to tie the 3 stitches together. And make sure that that tie lands in the middle, a little bit like almost like a bow tie. And then on my second go around, I actually do a stitch going down towards the back. And then I make sure that's nice and tight, and it forms our sheaf. So the next one, come up from behind, from below, use the eye of the needle to pick up the one thread to the left, come over like a bow tie, use the eye of the needle to do a total complete circle, make sure that that tie is right in the middle. The more you can get it to the center, the better. It has a better effect. And then the next one, the next tie around, you're going to push your needle down to the below to the bottom of the embroidery, and so you get like 2 ties. I'm going to do that again a couple of times. And I'm gonna keep going. So this particular decorative pillow that I'm doing is going to be a set of, I think they're about 6 decorative pillows. And the idea behind this was, I got them at a thrift store. They were only $1.50. They were almost like seasonal pillowcases with things like St. Patrick's Day on one side, and the other side was a blank canvas. They've got their zippers and everything ready. So I figured this would be a really nice project for me to be able to embroider all the year through with like a boho theme. It's going to be something that is freehand with the aim of just relaxation and being able to practice my embroidery with 0 stress. And that's it with the sheaf stitch. The only other thing that I have done with this particular stitch is I've come back again in the middle and just done a straight stitch with the pink, just to, you know, have a decorative feel to the middle there. And that's the sheaf stitch, a very simple stitch that can be really, really cute. Okay. So the next stitch we're going to do is the Y stitch, and I'll be right back with that. Alright, so done with the sheaf stitch, and I came back and did the long stitch in the middle, and you can see how pretty that looks, and it's very, very easy. So moving on to the Y stitch, again another very easy embroidery stitch. It really doesn't get any easier than this. And I think I have mentioned before, the reason I am using no hoop is this fabric is really, really stretchy. So putting a hoop would really stretch it out, and it just wouldn't be practical. I also really enjoy just freehanding it. I do have a hoop. I do use it occasionally, but I love this kind of embroidery where you just freehanding it. You know, things turn out the way they turn out. Some perfect stitches, some not so perfect stitches, but you know, it all works out. So Y stitch is pretty much the shape of a Y. tend to start at the bottom, at the top of the Y, like right here. So have your thread come up from the bottom at the tip of one Y, go across to the tip of the other side of the Y, come up in the middle, and then yarn over like that, pull through, and then go back to the bottom for the Y to complete the Y. So I'm going to do that again and maybe hold it a different way. I'm going to hold the Y upright so you can get a different perspective. So needle coming from the bottom at the tip of one Y, the first Y. Alright. Needle crosses over to the other tip of the Y and comes up in the middle of the Y right there, and the yarn goes, or the thread goes under the needle. So you start off by first having like a V, and then you come straight down, needle goes down to form the long leg of the Y. I mean, just look at how beautiful that is. So I know everybody's wondering about this light blue that's here, and this light blue is another Y stitch. It's still a Y stitch, but with a shorter stem, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. Okay, so this is just an embellishment of the Y stitch, and I'm going to show you how I start. The first thing I do is I have this is a double, there's a single strand that I have doubled up. I have a knot, I come up from the bottom, and because this fabric is very loosely woven, I go back down here, come back up from the back, and what I do is I just put my needle in between those two threads where the knot is to secure it. Again, I'm doing it like this because this fabric has a very, very loose weave, and every time I've just tried to use a knot, it pulls through and comes through. So should have left that a little bit loose. And like I said, this is the same Y stitch. The only difference is that it has a shorter stem. So instead of going all the way to the bottom there, I just do a shorter stem right here. Then I come back up to the top here to start the next Y. Right, same style, come up through the middle, yarn over if you have to, and a short stem. So it almost ends up looking like a V, but it is pretty much the same stitch. You're just making the stem shorter, and you end up getting that really beautiful effect. It works very well if you use a dark and lighter color. It could be the same color. This is a navy blue and a very beautiful bright blue. Okay, here is my final easy stitch of the day, and my easy stitch of the day is the blanket stitch. And again, the easiest stitch you'll ever make. I am using 2 strands of DMC number 8 red. So let me show you how to do this. So with the blanket stitch, you always want to come up from the top. And this particular variation of the blanket stitch is, I'm varying the length of the stitches. It's same stitch, just varying the length of the bottom part. So I have a long stitch, then I have a medium stitch going right up to my border, and making sure the yarn is under the needle, coming up, and then having an even shorter long stitch, making sure the yarn is under the needle. Actually, let me come a little bit further out there. Yarn under the needle, coming up. So the only thing I'm doing with this stitch is I'm varying the length of the bottom part, which is giving it a really nice design. This is pretty much a blanket stitch. We used to call it overstitch. I don't know whether the term is overstitch is a correct term, but from what I've seen and heard here is that it's called a blanket stitch, and that's really all it is. I mean, these embroidery stitches don't get any easier than this. The other thing I've discovered with this kind of embroidery, where it's freehand and you're going more for a dramatic effect rather than artistic you're taking creative license, is that you can mix different types of thread. I am not using any one type of thread. I'm using DMC number 8. Pretty much I'm using whatever it is that I've got, and that's the effect that you have there. Look at how beautiful that is. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this circle and come back, but I wanted to quickly show you all the yarns I'm using. I have DMC, that size. I have this thicker yarn. I have used the thicker yarn. I have used the 6 strand. So I'm just trying to use all the thread, the embroidery thread that I have, without having to buy new thread. So I'm mixing and matching everything I've got. The colors might look a little bit awkward, but that's because I have promised myself not to buy any new yarn, new thread, until I have cut in half, used in half the pile that I currently have. So this is a really great way to use embroidery thread that you have, a great way to practice on what you have already, without worrying too much about how great or how it looks. It doesn't have to be perfect. My Ys are not perfect. My blanket stitch is not perfect. I'm trying to make sure that the distance between one to the other is as even as possible, but you can tell it's not perfect. Am I enjoying this? I am totally loving it. I'm loving the freedom. I'm loving the peace of mind in doing it, and that's what it's all about. It's still going to come out as a very beautiful piece, but it's a relaxed, beautiful piece. Not complex, the easiest stitches that I can possibly think of. Another way to use a blanket stitch that I haven't shown you is like right here. That's a blanket stitch. The very same blanket stitch, but this is with even length of stitches. Same blanket stitch. So let me finish off this piece and show you the end of this particular design. So this is where we are with the embroidery. So far today, so we did the sheaf stitch. That's a sheaf stitch right there, which is 3 long stitches, and then we bundle them together just like you would wheat. And the only other thing is I did was I added a stitch right in the middle in pink, just to give it a bit of a distinction. That's a sheaf stitch right there. Then we did a Y stitch. We did a Y stitch with a long stem, and then came back again with a light blue to do a filler, almost like a V. That's a Y stitch with a very short stem. And then we did the blanket stitch, and I varied the blanket stitch by just varying the length of the bottom part. So one long one medium long, and one short. And that's the effect we have right now on the embroidery. Last week we did the whipped stitch right there, and that's still an ongoing process. So there it is, very simple embroidery stitches that can give you pretty intricate and beautiful designs. So if you like my content, you like what I'm doing here, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and see you next time on Cheap Fun Crafting.